Hi, Kyle.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm changing my name because it says I'm Rick Chiha. Let's see.
You have a good week?
Busy.
Yeah.
all the kids came, well, all but one came in, and it's I'm glad that everybody's gone. I
Oh, goodness.
think they get harder when they're adults and they're grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning. Are you all better from COVID?
I am. I have a little bit of a cough every now and then, and still just a little bit tired, but otherwise good.
Oh, that's good to hear.
It seems to still be going quite a bit around right now. A lot of people I know have it.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that have reached out recently that have COVID. I'm going to be dropping some stuff off tomorrow to a friend or a client that has COVID.
Oh, I know, you just got to be, careful again, right? I mean, as careful as I thought I was.
Right. And then there's monkeypox now that are coming around. That's just, I don't know what that's all about. I heard that the other day and I'm like, is that like chicken pox, but swing from branches? I don't know.
Now you all know why I live on a little island that nobody can get to me. Like, I just stay
Great
here.
strategy.
I know. I'm like, nope. Pausing notifications so this stops beeping in my background. There we go. Oh, where is everybody this morning or afternoon? Morning for you guys, afternoon for me. I know sometimes when I'm on with you guys, anybody in California, I'm like, wait, what time is it?
I'm afternoon now.
That's right. You are afternoon now. I sit here. Rick makes fun of me, but I have these two little clocks. Do you see this? So blue is California, black is where I am. So because I have to remind myself not to call them at 6 a.m.
Sherry,
Right.
where are you at?
I'm in East Tennessee. I'm between Nashville and Knoxville.
Okay, gotcha.
How about you? Where are you, Kyle?
The Pismo Beach, Central Coast, California.
Mm-hmm. I'm from California. I'm one of the Exodus.
Headed that way.
Yep. 2 years ago, I wheeled up. They said COVID and I said Tennessee.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, goodness. Oh, man.
Wow. Oh, there we go. Here comes some more folks. I was like, where is everybody? Oh, goodness. I'm headed to California Sunday to see Rick and Casey.
Nice.
Selena, where are you at?
I'm in South Carolina. So I moved here from New York a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. I'm in between Hilton Head and Savannah.
Okay.
And everyone likes to joke because I live on this tiny little island, but you can't get to it with a car. You have to take a little people ferry, and we all drive golf carts here. There's no cars on the island.
Oh, my goodness.
That's awesome, actually. And you're very close to Julie.
Yes. Yeah. Because I see her all the time.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So it's just
Are you on? You guys aren't on the same island. She's not on
no,
an
she's
island.
on Hilton. She's on Hilton Head Island, which is an island, but all reachable by bridges and all of those things. So
Got it.
But I'm a 30-minute ferry ride and a 5-minute drive, or a 7-minute water taxi and a 6-minute drive away from her. So good morning, Rochelle. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes because we've got people still coming in through the waiting room. Let's see, here we go. Yep, a couple more folks. Good morning, Marina. Let's see. Slow moving this morning. I've been up since early because I was like, I can put people on the ferry and get my life back. I just drove down there and said, off everybody goes. Good morning, good morning. If you have the ability to turn your camera on, I would love it. If not, I get it. If you're driving, please don't, because it makes me panic for you. Let's see. All right. Well, I'm going to get started. It's 1:03, and I'll just let people in as they come in, even with our little short group. I like it any way we have it. All right. Week 5, working with buyers. Any feedback from anybody? I mean, obviously, you guys have dealt with buyers before, but did you learn anything new? Don't everybody jump in at once. Okay. No, hold back, really. Everybody. All right, who watched the videos? Okay, thank you, Sherry.
I watched them all, but it's a little bit remedial, but which was good because there was a lot of back stuff that I needed to get done. So
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any feedback on the videos? It's okay if you didn't watch them, just tell me. Kyle, that looked like a guilty face.
I started coaching late, so I just finished week 3.
Okay,
so,
got it. You're a
yeah,
little bit.
I just chime in to just learn.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, Sherry, I think probably for experienced agents, it feels a little remedial. It feels like we kind of went backwards a little bit. But it was so funny because I took it again earlier this week just to kind of refresh myself. And then it just so happened I was helping a new agent that joined EXP, brand spanking new, right? And holding his first open house and handling buyers for the first time. And I was like, hey, glad I kind of stepped back, because sometimes when we are more experienced, we assume that other people know what to do. And when I have to kind of backtrack and think, okay, they don't know what they don't know yet. So it was good for me to actually take the refresher. I think I've done ramp like 17 times, but it was still a good option to go back. Anybody pick up any new nuggets from the videos this week? Anything?
I'm not going to say that it was a waste of time by any means, because being in a new area, it did kind of cast a light and reminders, and it's an awesome reminder.
Yeah.
But there was the what's in the contract and so on and so forth, and that was a little well, we kind of got that one.
Yeah.
What the contract's for, but establishing more open house thoughts, and also in the way of recruiting, also thinking about open houses. I actually made a list. I'm going to 7 open houses tomorrow.
Nice.
Because that's how I'm reaching out to area agents to get known. And now that open houses have slowed down, you can actually have a conversation. So being
Right.
able to go in and just have a conversation, hey, look at preview the house, and be wheels up, but you're warming up that contact and available for that conversation, because recruiting is more my direction.
That's which direction you want to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree. I think prior to this, when it was just complete insanity, when we walked into those opportunities, it was hard to have a conversation because everyone's just taking a moment to breathe. Anybody get anything from the showing like a pro? Anything new? Any nugget? I wanted to share. Oh, thank you. Whoever's in the background in Cheryl's office. I don't know if you're Cheryl or not. I haven't learned your name yet. Nope. Okay.
I don't know if you can see me. I'm Rochelle, but I kind of agreed with Sherry. It was a little bit remedial, but in a way there were a couple of little nuggets that I liked, because it started me thinking, when showing a property, obviously you don't want to state the obvious, but I don't know, she made a comment just about the crown moldings, and obviously people can see it's crown moldings, but she said crown moldings make the ceilings appear higher. So then it made me start thinking, what else can I say that's not the obvious, but enhances the obvious?
Right.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Thank you for sharing that. It was something, so I used to train all of our new agents on the team in New York. And again, this is sort of a situation where sometimes I just assume that people know what to do when they're going on a showing. And I kind of stepped back and I thought, okay, let's go back many years to my first showing. Hang on, I'm going to let somebody else in here. And I thought about how it did feel like maybe that was a little bit obvious, but what I started is, and I forget who taught it to me so many years ago, but she said, especially for new agents, what I taught them to do was when they would print the list sheet and they would go on the showing, and then they would print the client version, I would have them highlight in the client version anything that client said they wanted in a listing. And I would just get a green highlighter and highlight it, so that when I gave it to them and it was highlighted on mine as well, I was referencing, I heard you say that the open floor plan was important to you. I heard you say that having a private office was okay to you. And they could see by the highlight that I took the time beforehand. So that was kind of a different way of prepping for a showing, for them to feel heard, and for me to also remember what I wanted to point out very specifically during the showing. Not because it was unobvious, because I wanted them to feel heard from whatever they told me. So that was a big takeaway for me. And then I have to share the funniest story. And for any of you that don't know Christy Buck, she's in the Workman program and group too, and I'm great friends with her. She's in Houston. And she told me this funny story about someone who sent her a buyer's agent to train because no one could figure out why he could not close a buyer. He would go on the showings and just couldn't figure it out. So she said, great, ship him to me. And he spent a week with her, and she and I still laugh about it. She took him out and she said, I want you to show me this house. So she booked a house. She gave him the list sheet. She did all of that. She got there. He didn't open the door. He just sort of like unlocked the lock and then sat there. Right. And so she was like, okay. So she goes and opens the door and he's still standing there. He's not saying anything. She's walking around on her own. He goes into the kitchen and she sees him like this, right? And he's looking at the kitchen. And she says, is everything okay? And he's like, well, I'm just wondering why they ended the countertop here. There's just this space that's open. Maybe we could extend the cabinets and the countertop. I'm just trying to figure out, oh yeah, we could probably do that. And she looks at him and she goes, or that's where we put the fridge. Like he did not understand that was where the fridge went. Now, again, sometimes we don't know what people don't know. So when you're when you're talking with new agents or training with new agents, sometimes we do have to get a little remedial and take a step all the way back, right? And kind of practice what that was. So when I was watching the video and the showing like a pro thing, it just always brings me back to that story because I'm like, who knew you had to tell someone that that's where the fridge goes, But it's really my takeaway from that, the showing like a pro. Obviously, we don't go in with a hard sell. We're going in and we're just trying to show them we heard what they wanted and that the house we're asking them to take time out of their day to go see is a house that's reflective of what they wanted. Now, if it's missing something, I will say, I know you wanted this, but as you know, inventory is maybe a little bit light right now. Here are all of the things it does have that you requested, and I thought it might still be worth your time, right? So that was, I think the key takeaway for me is that you're heard. Sorry. The other thing, and I think is really, really important, especially in the market that we're in, is every time when you finish the showing, you ask, so are we buying this house today? Are we buying this house today? And if they say no, it's really important to write down what it was about it that they didn't like, right? Because now you're starting to fine tune things a little bit more. And if they say, maybe, you ding, 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 we're paying attention a little bit more and seeing, okay, great, let's get started. Let's talk about what you love about it. Let's talk about what we want to do. Any other feedback on that video? Because I don't want to spend the whole time talking.
I have a question maybe you can help me out with, because this, being an agent that's been in the business for a while, I still stumble, or this is still an issue. And it just literally happened the other day. My buyer, we've seen, a good amount. She found the one, which was great. We were going to write up an offer. Then I think this happened on Tuesday morning. She says to me that she wants her sister and brother-in-law to come see it. Exactly. So you know where I'm going with this. So we went to see it. The first thing that they told me was that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could tell right away when I got there, it wasn't going to be, this wasn't going to go well. They said that they saw a black squirrel, which, and they joked around about it, but they're like, oh no, we saw a black squirrel. Maybe that's an omen. And so right away I knew. I'm like, oh gosh. So we went and we saw the house, and the sister, and again, that's the sister and it's the family, but how do you handle it when the family just shoots down the house? Because now we're not buying it, of course. What do you say? Like, what do you?
Oh, it's so tough,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't know what kind of relationship that they have either.
Right. You kind of have to let them keep looking, I guess. I don't know.
Anybody else want to respond to that? Any seasoned agents before I jump in? Go ahead, Sherry.
So I am a pretty tough cookie to deal with when it comes to stuff like that, because that's goofy and I don't do goofy, and I don't want to say it that way, but sometimes I do. It's really just a conversation. Like initially when you sit down, like with your client, you might want to say like, are all decision makers going to be present? Right. So then later on in the third, when they find the house and they're wanting family to come look, I don't think I would entertain that. And I would just say, I initially asked you if all decision makers are going to be present during the process. I did not know that your cousin or your parents needed to sign off on the property, but trying to honestly just get into like their head with like, you're a professional and you deal with facts, and I deal with facts only. And sometimes they're, tough conversations make for an easy business. And so when you have them up front, like that's always going to be your best bet. But something like that is just, it is a tough conversation, but you, as a professional, you have to navigate it, and you have to say, so let me understand this correctly. We're not going to buy this house because you've seen a black squirrel in the yard. Am I understanding this correctly? And then say it back to them and let them like eat their words, like let them set in their thought process of what they just said.
Right.
Because that's silly, right? And unless they're really superstitious.
I agree. And, and again, it wasn't necessarily just the black squirrel. Like that was the first things that came into their mouth. And, I kind of made light of it because I kind of just, like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, and I think I just kind of like glossed over it. Cause it was like, I even said, I'm like, I just saw a little baby deer, which I did, just go by, a lot of nature here. So that was it. But the house itself though, they found, this wasn't good, that wasn't good. They just shot down the actual house. And then they were putting it in her head. It's a single mom. Her child goes to boarding school, so he's never even really there. But they told her that they felt that the house was too small for her, that it's not. So it wasn't even as though they could do certain things to the house. They just made it sound like the house was too, you know what I mean? They put that in her head. And then they had her starting to think about, where would I put this? And what would I do with this? And at that point, I didn't know what to say,
Is that why she didn't buy it? Is because initially because it was ended up being too small for her?
Yeah.
So then I would go, okay, so here's the deal. That house was 850 square feet, right? So now I know that I failed you because I've taken you to a house that's too small. No, you didn't really fail her. I'm just being
right. No, I know. Right.
Yeah.
Well, she wanted to see that house. That was one that she wanted to see. Because initially she did say, initially we were looking between 2 and 3 bedroom homes. But I think this one just checked off all the boxes as far as updated and what she liked. And so, I guess down deep inside, could it have been too small? Maybe it was, because again, she had seen some that were bigger when the market was crazy that she couldn't, it wouldn't happen. And I don't know. So yeah, so this particular one though, she reached out to me because she wanted to see it, but she seemed very happy with it until yesterday.
Kyle, you want to say something?
I don't know if I should go back to her or not. I'm thinking don't even
explain the benefits of having a small house. When you have a house that's smaller, your utilities are going to be less, your yard small, just things like that.
Right.
So you're right. Like we had one day before yesterday, and they had to actually drive 40 minutes out there to show one house, which we try to show, multiple in that neighborhood if we can. We'd already been out there once. And they literally didn't buy it because they said it was too small. And then I go, great. So we're not showing you anything under that square footage ever again. And I apologize. We failed you. We should have asked, is that going to be big enough because it's only this many? And then I literally told my team, I was like, take them to nothing else that's less than 1,800 square feet, because they have already told us that was too small. Unless it's set up the floor plan like a different way to where we know it's going to feel bigger, we're not showing them anything else that's under 1,800 square feet. And it's kind of like they're excited about going out, but we're the professionals. So at the end of the day, like I just always take the blame for it. Like, we must have not, listened correctly. Let me go back and, go back to the drawing board. And of course it's not like they're just being picky or whatever, but yeah, that's a tough one. I always just blame myself though. And I feel like that works better, because then it puts in this position of like, oh no, it wasn't your fault. I should have told you. And it's like, yeah, you should have told me.
Yeah, you should have told me. Kyle, what did you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never heard of a black squirrel. So when I heard that, I was like, what,
Don't come here, because I got a ton of them.
and people say stupid stuff, they just do, and almost like an omen. So I actually pulled up black squirrel on my phone. And I think if I was out showing a property and someone said, oh, there's a black squirrel, it's an omen, just pull up the facts. And I just learned just now about this black squirrel that basically, it says here that, they inhibit the northern ranges of the species, but with their black fur, it provides them a thermal advantage over their non-melanistic counterparts. So if someone wants to pull up some stupid thing and say, oh, you know, the cat just ran in front of us, like we all have these, and we just go straight to Google and find something that can debunk their superstition and keep us, I think, in charge and just plow forward.
Yeah, and that was going to be my takeaway is remember, Rochelle, that you're in charge. I love what Cheryl said, and I would definitely reference when we first discussed all decision makers were present. You know, that's really, really important to kind of reiterate that, because we don't want this to happen every time she falls in love with a home, right? And if it's a family member, typically if it's a father, no house is ever good enough, ever. You know, unless it has reinforced steel and special nails that hold it together, you know, something like that. So I would have that conversation with her, but I liked what Cheryl did as well. Okay, if you felt that was too small, let's make sure moving forward that we look for something that's a little bit bigger, if that's what you felt after seeing it the second time. We always do know that the second time around, people will change their mind on different things, right? So it's still not a bad thing that it happened, but I would go back and have that conversation. You know, if we find a house that you've fallen in love with and you feel great about it, are you ready to move forward on your own? Like
sometimes the objection I always find is not about that particular item, but it's about the house itself. They're just trying to find the reason to object about the house. So I probably, for myself, I would have said, so is it the squirrel or the home that you don't like?
Oh, it was the home. It was
Because
definitely.
if it's not the right home,
Yeah.
then let's go sit down right now so we can find what's going to be beneficial for you. Because if it's the size and you're selecting these sizes, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Let's only select the stuff that's going to work for you. Now, if you want something that's turnkey, then we're going to have to go to a smaller size. But if you want something bigger, we might have to be open to doing some of the work ourselves and update later on down the line, because everything is dictated by price and if we're stuck in our budget. So I would almost put it back on them and start to educate so I can gain trust. That's all I want to do when I'm meeting with people. So when I hear objections, I take it as it's something to do with where we're missing in our criteria, and we need to hone that down. And like the person that said she had a buyer drive 40 minutes to see one house, well, that person's committed. So for me, I would say, wow, so you're here and this wasn't the right one. You know what? Let's go sit down real quick and meet and have a buyer's consultation. Let's actually pin out the right home. So when the right ones come up, you're not wasting your time. And that way I can actually now take control of the entire process.
So that great segue into the next conversation, James.
Can I jump in really quick? Just with my buyers and my buyers agents, one of the conversations that I always have when we start the whole entire process is we're going to be looking at homes, and I'm going to hand you the listing. And on the top of the listing, you're going to give me a livability score, which is 1 to 10. And when we pull up and you go, I would never live in this neighborhood, we're giving that house a 0 and going on. If we get through the whole process and you tell me that this house is a 9.9, we're going back to the office and writing it up. If it's not above a 5, I want to know where I missed the mark. And if it's above a 5, then you tell me what it's missing so that we can narrow down the rest of the tour, the rest of our time together. You help me help you narrow in on your home, give it a livability number. And then when we get in the car after every house, it's like, give the house a number, because that determines if I'm continuing or if I'm going back to the office to write it up. And it gets that conversation going and you can dig deeper and deeper. And I always joke and say, you know, I'm sorry, we're not on HGTV, so you're not going to get 3 10s. It's going to run the gauntlet. And I just need you to narrow it down so that we can come and pinpoint your home. Because each time we go out, I'm not going to show you 10 homes. I'm going to show you 9, and then I'm going to show you 2. You know, we are going to bring it down so that we're not wasting each other's time, because this is important. If you want to be closed in 30 days, we need to start now. So the livability number on every piece of paper from my buyers is a must, or my buyer's agents talking to their buyers.
And
I
that
so that we
love
can
that,
narrow it
Sherry.
down.
I love that. Go ahead, James.
the number makes it easy because I do a rating scale too. Now they're not objectifying the property. They're just coming to you with a number and not feeling bad that
Right.
that don't like the house. And you took control of the buyers. I love it.
And we have to remember that when they first come to us, right, for a buyer consult, they want the moon. Like their criteria is incredible, right? And then as Sherry, you've been saying anything under 5, let's figure out what criteria didn't fit, right? Because now they're out there and they're looking at it and all of a sudden they're like, I really didn't want the master on the main. I don't think that's really what I wanted now. So we start fine tuning as reality hits when we're actually out and looking at homes. Rochelle, what were you going to say?
No, just one last thing with that though. I guess what's hard is that after a while, whether your buyer likes or doesn't like a home, like you can tell. And that's what was so hard with this one, because again, we've been out there and, I know what she's looking for and what she likes. And like I said, I knew that was the one. She knew that was the one. And again, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but every now and then, the family member comes after the fact and then, so I guess that's just it. I was just wondering what people say to and again, it wasn't the squirrel, it was the home, it was the size of the home. She thought she liked the size, she was happy, she was writing up the offer. I don't know, I guess I don't think there probably is anything you can do once a family member puts that into your head, except for, like you said, I mean, she's a grown woman, she's an attorney, she's, like on the older, she's no like young first-time home buyer where mommy and daddy are gonna, so that's why, and she was the one who's making the decision.
Okay.
But I don't know, maybe from now on we have to have our sister come along or somebody else, just so that, because I thought that was the one as much as she did,
Rochelle,
so.
did you ask her what changed from day 1 to day 2? Did you say yesterday you loved it?
Yeah.
Today you don't.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Right.
But I just want to know what changed between yesterday and today.
Okay. Maybe
I would ask that, because if she comes back and she does say that it's a family member, I would maybe dig a little deeper into that and
Right.
just say, okay, I understand that they had a lot to say about it, but I want to make sure you are getting the home you want.
That's a
You are
good
my
point.
client. You are my client. And while I love all of the family support that you have, we're going to say it in a positive way, all the family support that you have, I want to make sure I'm serving you. Dig
And at
into
the end of the
that.
day, she's the one that has to be happy and living in it. So that's
Exactly.
just it. I like the family support. Like,
Yeah, I'm trying to be politically correct.
exactly. You gotta figure out
All
a way
those
to work.
crazy people we dragged into the house yesterday. Scared of black squirrels. Don't
Right,
don't
thank
send them
you.
here. Okay. So that segues us into buyer consults. Who here does buyer consults? Everybody, please raise your hand. Oh, Sherry Mason. No one?
I do buyer
Oh,
consults.
thank you, James. What was everybody's
call 'em-
thought about the video?
I call them first dates. I meet them for a first date. Sometimes it's at a house and sometimes it's in the office, but I'm not
Mhm.
strong on the consult aspect of things.
I have people call them all different kinds of things, right? We have a buyer consultation. I have somebody who calls it a buyer success story. There's a success session, which just feels very hard for me to say. But it can be any number of things. Wow, I'm surprised, guys. You're out just showing houses without an agreement in place or a loyalty agreement or anything like that.
Sherry, I'm gonna borrow your first date. I like it. It's
Your first
so,
date.
yeah. We want to make sure we're going to be right for
A
each other.
match.
So let's go get a cup of coffee, meet at my office. Yep. Love it.
Well, I do the whole process is all in a relationship. So we go on a first date and then we're going to start dating houses, and then we're going to propose to one, and then we're getting married. So I just kind of joke it through there, or we're breaking up before we get to the altar, or we're getting a divorce and it's time to sell it. Let's go. So that's kind of my thing.
Okay, so do we not see the value in a full-blown consultation?
You know,
prior?
I'm going to jump in again with the
Yep.
consultation. When you have family members involved, especially with younger families, and the dad's going to show up and, he wants to be the pick everything apart. I always find during the consultation when I know they're younger or their family's going to be involved because I've asked a question, I'll let them know that it's their job to be hypercritical, and they're going to be because they're not the ones purchasing the home.
Right.
So it's easier for them to not be emotionally attached and walk away and not choose anything because they already have their home. But sure enough, they went through the same things you did. So we'll have a home inspection and dad or uncle or sister or cousin could be there. And, the home inspector is going to pick everything out and then be able to answer questions to make sure the house is not falling down. And I think that's why the consultations are so important. It stops a lot of that grief that we feel when we're out showing.
Yeah. So I want to talk about this for a minute. The team in New York that I was running for 8 years, a lot of times we had new agents come to the team and they would never have been required to have a consultation or a buyer agreement in place. And it was mandatory. Now, Sherry, I would let them date, right? Because they would say, people don't want to sign it unless they've met me and we've developed a relationship. So you were allowed to meet them exactly one time and show them the one time. And then you had to have an agreement in place. And that was protection. It was also because, like, if you're going to be spending your time and your energy with this person, I want a loyalty agreement. I'm going to be loyal to you. You're going to be loyal to me, to you. And we're going to reciprocate, right? Because the worst feeling in the world is to take someone out and then find out the following week they went to an open house and they bought with someone else. And you've now spent valuable time with someone. And it's also just sort of creating that expectation. But that consultation becomes so important because you're learning so much. You are finding out those specifics, the criteria, what to kind of expect from outside family members, all of those different things. And it doesn't have to be hours long, right? On average, we tried to keep ours under 30 minutes, where we just showed so much value in that 30-minute time frame of how we were going to help them, guide them, and how we were listening to what they were telling us. There was a lot less speaking and a whole lot more listening. Tell me what you're looking for. Tell me what you want. Those sorts of conversations, that the relationship was built almost immediately, right? If you haven't read the big book, Instant Rapport, I highly encourage you to get it. It's very small, short, easy read, but it is about having and building rapport within minutes. Right? Within minutes, so much so that they don't want to work with anyone else. But like I said, Sherry, I would allow it. And I would say, look, if you guys want to date, not get married yet, you're not ready to commit, I get it. Like, go out, meet with them the one time. But that means that showing you are kicking butt, man. You are ready with all those things highlighted about what they said that they might want. And you're showing so much value from the moment that you walk in the door that they have to say, and they would say this, my team leader requires that if we move forward with this relationship, that we have this agreement in place. I have to provide it to her. And that was easy because then they could just throw me under the bus. I'm the bad guy, and it took it out of their hands. But I think loyalty agreements are really important. I think it's a way to show that you're serious about them and they're serious about you. Any feedback, anything anybody wants to add to that? Oh, Marina. Oh, text the name of the book here. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
I
It's
would
funny.
also tell people that we're going on a double date, and the double date is me bringing a lender alongside. It's like, we're going to meet for coffee. It's a double date. It's me and my lender. So you're going to need to be ready to have some conversations. So just another element to bring in there.
I'm getting you the link to the book, Marina. One
It's
moment.
funny that you mentioned the buyer agreement though too, because after that meeting, after meeting the family, I felt that she was loyal with me, but now the thought went in my head like, oh, I could just see them in the car saying that house was totally the wrong house for you. And even though she was the one that picked it out, now I'm kind of concerned because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if they're thinking about like their friend who's a realtor or whatever. But the thing is though, doesn't that vary from state to state? And as far as, I guess it's more of a like a psychological commitment as opposed to, because I think, at least I'm in New Jersey, so I think if I have the buyer agreement and they go see another house, it's only procuring clause, I think.
In New York, it's not.
Really? So in New York, how is it in New York? If
In
you,
New York, if they sign that agreement with you and they walk into another open house and they buy from that, then that's the listing agent, you still get paid.
wow, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
here
because
it's a
you have
little
a
bit
loyalty
different. We're
agreement.
neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
and it's really not so much about the contract portion of it. It's about the relationship you're agreeing to have with each other. You know, it's about that kind of situation. Also, and getting them to sit down beforehand before we start running around and showing houses and, you know, not kind of getting all that done. Right. There's a friend of mine that runs a big team in New York, and I like the way he does it. So they have a consultation. It's required to be in the office. Now he requires his agents to get copies of the driver's license as well. He's just keeping everybody safe. Then when they start determining what the criteria is, they sit down, they get on MLS and they look at it, and he hands them the client sheet from the MLS and he says, great, go drive around and look at them. He calls it a drive-by, which is a terrible name. But he requires them to go and drive by the homes on their own first, and then come back and state which ones they actually want to go and make showing appointments for. And they can either come back to the office. And the reason he does that is, for any of you have been in New York, there's a lot of different styles and there's a lot of different driveways. And chances are they're going to drive past it and say, there's no chance I'm going into this house. That's going to ice up in the winter and I don't want that driveway. But you would have wasted the time showing them. You would have set the appointment. You would now be an hour early to the next appointment because now they don't even want to go into the house. So he is structured and systematized his in a way that he says, I want you to go. I want you to make notes, drive around the neighborhood, around the house. What do you like? What do you not like? You know, sometimes it would be, oh, that's too close to a school or that's too close to a commercial thing, right? And now they're using their time to explore. And then they come back and say, hey, we drove past these 10 houses. These are the 4 we absolutely want to set an appointment for. Now his time is better spent, right? So again, it's about setting the expectation from the buyer consult. This is how we work. We're going to come in. We're going to have an appointment, just like you would do at any professional, right? Any professional you call up, you're going to go meet your attorney at the office. Yes. You're going to meet your accountant at the office. You know, you're not going to wander around with someone you've never met before in empty houses, women, ladies. You know, so men too, sorry, it does happen. But Letitia, this Zoom will be posted. I will find out. I will find out, or I'll send you the link. I'll find out from Gina. So I do want you to start thinking about what that looks like for you guys with a consult, right? And don't tell yourself the story that it means that they're not going to sign with you. As long as you go into that consult completely confident in your ability and how much value that you're showing, they're really not going to argue. That was the biggest hiccup I had with agents. Well, I was with this brokerage. They didn't require a buyer contract. No one's ever going to sign one. Very, very rarely did someone not sign a buyer agreement with our team. 9 times out of 10, it's some high-powered attorney from Manhattan that makes me want to rip all of my eyelashes out anyway, because he wants to rewrite the contract. You know, so that's generally how that happens. Oh, let me make all of these notes for you on what I want to change. So I don't want you to think that that's not possible. The key is that you're setting the tone for the relationship. We are professionals. This is my professional agreement. Anyone here have to negotiate their buy-side fee? Oh, Cheryl, go ahead. I saw your hand there for a second.
I was just gonna say something to that because I was holding it, but
Love her.
it's one of those deals to where, like, here's the deal. When you call the doctor's office, there's a process, right? You don't just get to walk up to your doctor's office and go, hey, I need you to check out this deal on my arm. It hurts, right? You get to call and you have to set the appointment. They're gonna ask you, like, what are your symptoms? Like, and then when you get there, like, you're going to wait your turn. And so think of yourself as this professional, like the doctor's office, because you went to school, you got the real estate license, like, you are the professional. So, you know, treat them as such, but have a standard for your business to where they have to treat you a certain way as well. And I think that you'll find once you do that, and listen, I'll be honest with you guys, like, I grew up super duper poor. So it was really hard for me to find my value in real estate, to just go like, hey, you don't get to waste my time, right? Because it's very valuable. I will respect your time, but you will also have to respect mine. And that goes along with the buyer broker too, because you're not going to go out and, the doctor's not going to see you if you're not his patient, right?
Right.
So have them sign that paper up front and get that relationship solidified. And then I just tell them flat out, listen, if you want to dump me, you can dump me. Like, this is not a marriage agreement. You're going to need a valid reason to. I'm going to work really hard for you, but just understand that this just allows me to be the professional that you need in this transaction.
I love that.
Yourself as the doctors, right? You're not the nurse practitioner. Like, you are the doctor.
I love that, Cheryl. I think that's so valuable. There was a course I took a long time ago. I think it was called Millionaire Buyer Presentation or something like that. And she said, a lot of the objection that she would get was, well, we don't want to take the time to come to the office. Like, let's just go look at the house. And she would say, her objection handler was, if we spend this time now, I'm going to save you so much time down the road. And I don't want to waste your time showing you homes that don't meet your requirements because we didn't really sit down and talk about it. Right? It's like, let's spend it now, not later.
So you know what I tell them when they say that to me? I say, I'm so sorry. I don't think this is going to be a good fit for us. I really value this experience that I have with you. And if you're not willing to take 10 to 15 minutes out to visit with me, the person that's going to facilitate the biggest financial transaction of your life, I'm super serious about this. And I just don't think that you're there yet, but when you get there, or if you are, and if you're not, either way, I still respect it. And I'm always going to be here for you. Okay. I'm always your trusted advisor when you need me. But guys, if they're not willing to play ball the way that your field's laid out, then they don't need to be on your team.
Cheryl, I feel like we'd be great friends.
We are. Vanessa told me all about you. So.
Okay. Oh God.
No, but I just have a rougher way of. No, none of that. She said, I'll just be honest. I just have a different way of saying things because of the way I grew up. I grew up around a lot of, we grew up real poor, and there was a lot of negativity and stuff. And so I've been in that side of it. I have more of like I guess a street mentality, you could kind of say. And then coming into real estate to become a professional, like I've had to really work very hard because of my verbiage, and I've had to change my verbiage to be able to get into a different type of clientele. But everyone still gets treated the same way. But you have to know that inside of you, that you've done the work. And when you start setting those standards and those boundaries for your business, like, your business will thrive at a higher level.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all that, Cheryl.
You.
I think, it's hard. Like, even I told you I was talking to a newbie, that's what I call a brand new licensed agent, this week about his first open house. And he said, I'm so terrified. Now, bear in mind, it's $3.5 million house, right? He's like 5 minutes old. Okay. And he's like 5 minutes old. And I said, what did you used to do? And he worked in sales in like a cell phone company, right? And he did it at a really high level. And I said, you have to remember that they don't know that you don't know. Okay. So you just show up professional, confident, going into the situation, you can make eye contact, you shake hands, maybe not so much during COVID, but you're like really just presenting yourself in a professional manner. They're not going to second guess you. It's the same way with the buyer consultation. This is my process. I meet everyone at the office. We sit down, we talk about your criteria, your needs, and how we're going to work well together. We're going to sign an agreement that says we're loyal to each other. And then I'm going to help you find a fabulous house, right? And you just say it just like that. No hesitation, total confidence. I want you to script practice like crazy, Rochelle, and do it in front of the mirror, record yourself, any of those things to get very, very confident about it. Because the last thing I want you to do is spending time with someone who isn't loyal and goes out and buys a house with someone else because you didn't put that in place for you. Okay. All right, so let's see. We also had working with buyers, the buying process. Anybody feel like they need to review that? I mean, you all know, pre-qualified, you're doing the things. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing any chat here. Let's see. What about knowing your way around a contract? So this was new for me. I had to rewatch this with Ramp because in New York, we don't write contracts. Rochelle, New Jersey? I can't remember. You do?
We do. Yeah.
You
What
do.
do you write? A letter of intent? Is it a letter of intent?
It's an offer, and it's an attorney state. So our attorneys write all contracts. So I was like going back through it because I'm getting my license in South Carolina right now where you write your own contracts. So I was like, oh, good. I needed this video. Let me get back into the swing of things. Any feedback, anything, anybody learn or take away something new or different? on these last two videos? Bueller. Nobody knows the reference, huh? Oh, Sherry does. Okay. Shoo. I was like, just aged myself a lot. Okay. What about accountability? How's everybody feeling with this process and ramp so far? Any feedback on that? Kyle, did you have a killer week? You did? Okay. Sherry, Cheryl, Marina. Am I saying your name right, Marina? My husband's Greek, and that's how they say it. They'd roll the R.
So we're just going to be super honest. We're lacking a little bit but it's just because we've been in production. We've actually closed several out or got 2 more that we're closing out today. And so
nice.
I'm kind of showing them because I got new agents that it's like this when we don't
Yeah.
consistently all the things. But I will tell you that this has been amazing for me to do this with them, because even though I've been in production, like, I needed to hear a lot of this stuff again too, because really it's what we do is real simple. We are the ones that make it hard.
Yeah.
But I think that if, you give yourself grace, as long as you show up, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, we just need to move it every day. We just need to move it. So it's showing up, being consistent, doing the activities but yeah, we really, really love the buyer scripts that are in the sessions. I've actually started those when talking to people too. And so being honest, we just haven't been really good at script this week, but we intend to get back on track next week.
Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. Can I give you something that we did in our office that our agents actually loved? And back then it was called LP Mama. Now they've switched it to LP Ma'am. I had a lot of staff in the office that was answering the phones, and a lot of times they would forget to get all the information. So we made on Vistaprint little notepads, and they sat by every phone, and it had LP Mama straight down the list, so that if they took a message from an incoming call from a buyer, they had to get everything on the list before they gave it to an agent, because otherwise I would make them go back and call that person back and get whatever was missing. But that was kind of an interesting way to make sure that everyone was gathering all of the information on an incoming buyer lead. And then the buyer's agents actually like to also keep it in their car. So if they got a lead and they were talking with them on the phone very quickly, but they couldn't like take out all of their notes, they kept the notepad just there. And again, it would be name, phone number, email address, and then straight down the list, LP Mama down the list. And that made them think, am I in my conversation? I forgot to ask about this. I forgot to ask if they have a pre-approval, so they would go back and say the line is blank. So just a little tip. Don't know if it'll help you or not, but it kind of helped us over the long haul. I love the scripts. It is important to practice them when you can. Obviously, production is super duper important, and it's easy to get distracted by that, because it is important, right? I had someone say that to me this week. He's fairly new, and he said, I know it goes like this. And I said, well, it doesn't have to go like that. And right now he's in the valley of despair. That's what we call that. When you're down there, you're in the valley of despair. And he was like, I didn't save money last month when I had my closings, and now I don't have any. So that is very truthfully the valley of despair. So I was like, all right, well, what do we do, right, to get out of the valley? It's what you said, Cheryl. It's progress, not perfection. Every day you're moving the needle just a little bit further. I'm going to do one more thing. Okay, I can't lead generate for a full hour. Can I fit in 30 minutes? Heck, if you can't even fit in 30 minutes, say 15 minutes, at least you feel like you tried, right? If something comes up. Anybody else, any takeaways so far with what week we're in? Something that you wish was different, better?
I just wanted to share, James and Cheryl and Rochelle, the whole team of information that you guys are sharing with me. This is so insane, and I'm getting so much out of this. I don't have words right now how valuable this information is that you guys are sharing with me. And I just wanted to reach out and thank you guys personally. I got goosebumps right now. And I'm so grateful, so thankful to be here to share, this time with you guys. And this information that you guys are sharing is just, it's like over the top. So thank you so much, you guys. This is just, woo. Oh, man.
Kyle, I just want to say, but you're an inspiration as well. I am not a door knocker. It's sort of, I have, around listings in the past, but I've never been consistent. But you pop into my head throughout the week. And I kind of want to do what Cheryl had mentioned last week. She said, get together with a lender. So I have a lender in mind. I'm thinking maybe, I could do it around, it's the closed now, but just maybe a just closed property. But you're an inspiration as well, because, you're going out there and you're doing it. And when you said however many you did last week, I get goosebumps just with that, because that's incredible. That's, it takes guts. It takes a lot of guts, because where are you? Where do you live? Where are you located?
We're on the Central Coast, California, Pismo Beach, Santa Maria area.
Okay, I'm in New Jersey, and nobody wants to open the door for anybody over here. They slam doors. They slam doors. They hang up the phone. So it takes guts to do something like that. But you're an inspiration as well.
I know. I was telling your story to someone else this week, Kyle. I was like, they were scared to try door knocking. Guys, this is the key with having community like this, right? You get to learn, you get to pick up other things, you get to share. And sometimes it gives inspiration. Sometimes it gives you the courage. And you're like, okay, I saw that Kyle was successful. I'm gonna give this a go. Rochelle, you're going to get a lot of no's. I mean, I know from being in New York, like it's not a friendly place most of the time. So it's hard, but there's still some real value in it. There really, really is. So I appreciate everyone sharing. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. So anybody know what this week's scroll was? Anybody remember?
Let me pop in really quick just to give you guys a thought. The 20th is Lollipop Day.
Oh, I love it.
So if you're going out door knocking or popping by or whatever, it's National Lollipop Day. My lender and I are going out and she's buying a ton of lollipops, putting it all together. So anyway, the 20th, so 10 days away or so. Get your stuff ready, because it's so easy, so inexpensive. And I mean, you can literally throw them at kids on the street and they're happy. So it's Lollipop Day on the 20th. Door knocking, here we come.
I love it. Thank you, Sherry. I always say I'm gonna
go ahead. One question, Sherry. Okay, so you're gonna go to the door, you're gonna bring your lollipop. Stranger comes to my door with a lollipop. Are you bringing I don't know, information about the neighborhood too?
Oh, it just depends. If I'm door knocking around a listing, absolutely. I'm going to talk about the listing, but I'm having the lollipop because I want to leave them with something sweet, it's a really inexpensive pop by. What we're doing on the 20th is we actually have identified a few manufacturing plants between our towns are like right next to each other. So we're going to several businesses where we're likely to encounter lots of employees with a really quick, walk by or whatever. So we want to have something to just hand them and just say, here you go. We're looking to do we're calling it move in, move up consultations. So we'll come to them and on their lunch hour, if they want to schedule the time, or they can come to us, we can do one big presentation or they can schedule one. And we have our times all lined out of where we're going to put people that we can be together, her and I. And so, but the lollipops are the icebreaker, if you would. We're just trying to figure out what cute little thing to put on it right now to go with that. But since it's the 20th, we're just going to go out all day and throw lollipops at people. How much fun can you have?
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this week's scroll, anybody know what it was? No? Yep, Sherry does. Okay. I will laugh at the world. Rochelle, this one's for you. Okay, so I'm going to read it and then we're going to talk about it for a minute because I've read this book. Look how old my book is. It's like eaten up. All right. I will laugh at the world. No living creature can laugh except man. Trees may bleed when they are wounded, and beasts in the field will cry in pain and hunger. Yet only I have the gift of laughter, and it is mine to use whenever I choose. Henceforth, I will cultivate the habit of laughter. I will smile, and my digestion will improve. God, I hope that works. I will chuckle, and my burdens will be lightened. I will laugh, and my life will be lengthened, for this is the great secret of long life, and now it is mine. I will laugh at the world, and most of all, I will laugh at myself. For man is most comical when he takes himself too seriously. Never will I fall into this trap of the mind. For though I be nature's greatest miracle, am I not still a mere grain tossed about by the winds of time? Do I truly know whence I came or whither I am bound? Will my concern for this day not seem foolish 10 years hence? Why should I permit the petty happenings of today to disturb me? What can take place before the sun sets, which will not seem insignificant in the river of centuries? I will laugh at the world. And this is the last paragraph, I promise. And how can I laugh when confronted with man or deed which offends me, so as to bring forth my tears or my curses? 4 words I will train myself to say until they become a habit so strong that immediately they will appear in my mind whenever good humor threatens to depart from me. These words, passed down from the ancients, will carry me through every adversity and maintain my life in balance. These 4 words are, this too shall pass, and I will laugh at the world. Rochelle, this too shall pass.
Okay, so I have a question about this book.
Yeah.
So aren't we supposed, with the whole habits and building the habits, aren't we supposed to be reading the same chapter like for 30 days in a row? And then, or are we, is it okay? Because is that what everybody's doing? Or are they just reading through the first time? Because I feel like everybody's on chapter whatever, and I'm still on chapter 1, and I want to just move forward, but it's like 30 days. If I'm reading it right, I don't even know if I'm reading it right.
There's no wrong way to read it. Even if you're not reading it in order, all of them are still very, very valuable. And there's not a specific order that it necessarily needs to go in. In RAMP, they always reference one kind of depending on what we're talking about or what we're going through, because you can almost always relate them to something, which is why I loved this was so relevant to your story today. That worked out nicely. So yes, so the first time I did it, I read the whole thing all the way through. I mean, it's tiny, so you can, right? And then after that, it is about reading that same chapter over and over, because you're building the habit and you're building that mindset inside of your mind of when this happens, like what happened with you, you can think in your mind, I'm going to laugh at the world over this stupid black squirrel. I am going to laugh at the world, right? And this too shall pass. You'll go have this conversation. So the scrolls are about relating it to what you're going through at the moment, right? And then being able to look back at it. At Workman, as coaches, every year we choose a new scroll we want to focus on. I've used I will persist until I succeed several times. And it could be whatever's relevant in your life at the moment. But there's no wrong way to read it, right? I encourage you that if you have a moment to read it all the way through first, and then go back and start the process of doing the same one. There's some, that's good too. Anybody have any feedback on this week's scroll? It's something I have to remind myself so often, right? I'm like, this is not going to be important to me in 10 years, right? It's not going to, you have to think about it. Is this really, well, so I told you I had family here this week, right? And one of them is someone that we've known for years, and she had all of her 3 kids, and like one of them would come up and they would be like, oh, I scratched myself at the pool. And my answer, I turn around and I'm like, but did you die? And she was like cracking up, and she says, I love that you say that, because my son is like super dramatic, right? My little guy, and he'll come up and he'll be like, oh, look, I cut my chin. I'm like, but did you die? Like 10 years from now, this little teeny whiny scratch, like cry me a river, man. I'm not the nicest mom, I'm just saying. But I want you to think about it from the same respect in real estate. Like, there's no, it's going to be okay. You've got to laugh at some of this. You're going to get somebody who's going to say, I can't buy this house because of the creepy black squirrel. Laugh about it and say, this too shall pass. Have the conversation. I mean, guys, for those of you that have really been in there a long time, right? There have been all kinds of crazy things that people say to us in real estate about why they can't buy a house, or why they won't accept an offer, or whatever it is. And you just want to look at them and go like, like, something is definitely wrong with you. But instead, laugh about it and say, all right, Rochelle, look, you've got a plan now, right? You can go to her, and you're very frustrated, obviously, because you're like, I thought I found her dream home. I thought this was the way we were moving. But now you're like, okay, I'm going to laugh about the black squirrel for a hot second. And then I'm going to go forth and say, hey, I just want to check. You loved the house yesterday. The next day you didn't. Can you tell me what changed? Okay. So we can laugh. You can laugh at a lot of people over the years in real estate. A lot of people. Sometimes I tell you guys, I'm like, woo, 25 years in the business, and I still get new ones all the time. All right. Anybody else have any more feedback before we finish up? I really appreciate all the input today, guys. I love it when everybody's kind of contributing and a part of it. So thank you for letting me pretend to be Rick Chiha today while he's out and about. Any last comments? Anything like that?
You
Remember
did
to
a great Rick impression.
Thank
Just
you.
saying.
Thank you. Everybody remember to do your daily success habits, right? Keeping up with those things start to really tell you important information over time. A lot of people don't like tracking. I love it. I'm very analytical because I like to know if I make 27 calls, I typically get a yes. If I do this many times, it means that there's a yes. Because when I'm depressed and I'm like, I've made 20 calls today and nobody said yes, I'm like, I'm gonna make 7 more because I know that when I get to 27, somebody's gonna say yes. So it's a motivator. So think about it. Kyle's like, this lady's crazy. She does not get to be on the ramp call anymore. He's like, we will Rick back. All right, guys, everybody have a great weekend. Hopefully I see you all soon. Thanks for taking the time today. Hope everybody got the name of that book, Instant Report. It was in chat. Really good, just quick read. Okay, thanks guys. Talk to you soon.